Hello and welcome to our second lesson of our first module, Building a Foundation and Culture of Innovation. In this module, we will focus on the unique aspects of the systematic inventive thinking method. Our goals today are to enable you to understand the basic premises of the SIT method using creative templates to generate innovative ideas. To briefly review the history of development of the template-based approach to innovation. To explore the differences between SIT and brainstorming, which is the most commonly used method of innovation today. And to understand the multi-layered approach to helping people in organizations to innovate. First, I'd like to start with an exercise to enable you to experience more what we're talking about when we talk about creative templates. In the next few slides, I will show you an advertising campaign by a company named Wallace, which is a women's clothing brand. Please take a look at these advertisements and try to pay attention to the details. After reviewing the next 3 slides, I will ask you to do something. Are you ready? Here we go. So take a look here. Can you see the tagline beneath the Wallace logo? Dressed to Kill? This is the name of the campaign. So, are you following the logic of the campaign here? Take a look at the next slide. Here's the poor guy on the metro. And the third one, here's the poor guy reading the book. Your task is to think, what would be the next ad in this campaign, okay? If I were to show you now the 4th slide, what would it look like? Take a few minutes. You can also write down for yourself a few of your thoughts. Let me show you the 4th ad in this campaign. It's this one. Did you think of something exactly like this or something like it? Oftentimes people continue the thoughts from the previous ads and add some sort of transportational aspect to their new ads. Can you see that all these ads are from the same family? They all share something in common. They all have a reoccurring pattern. This is exactly where we're coming from. And as we've mentioned in previous modules, while people usually connect innovation to the inventive person or inventive circumstance, when we deal with patterns, it leads us to the most crucial idea that lies in the heart of the SIT method. The idea that inventive solutions share common patterns. This is based on extensive academic research and is thoroughly substantiated. Relying on patterns has a notable advantage. This approach means that there is no such thing as a non-creative person. According to the pattern-based approach, creativity or the ability to achieve innovation is a skill that can be owned, and when provided with the proper toolbox or tools that have been empirically proven to assist people in changing their modes of thinking, anyone can achieve innovative thinking. Let's look in more detail on what we have discussed in the previous lesson, the 3 P's approach to innovation. The person approach is based on researching who the inventors are. According to this approach, if you want innovation in your organization, you should hire creative people. The process approach is based on identifying how inventions come to be. And here, the determining factors for an innovative outcome are considered to be the characteristics of the process that led to it. Both approaches are valid, but our approach is product-based. And when looking at inventions, instead of investigating who invented or how it was invented, we investigate what was invented. What properties of the product make it an exciting innovation, and what does it have in common with other inventions? When researching the commonalities, we discover the creative patterns. This product-based approach stems from academic research that examines the hypothesis that innovative products or solutions share common patterns, assuming that if they did, these patterns could be captured, reworked, and applied proactively on situations in order to achieve innovation on demand. In the research, it was found that the patterns do exist in most patentable new ideas. Now, when you think about it, this is very exciting. It means that we can actually have a method to achieve ideas that later succeed in the marketplace. The traditional process of new product development begins with the identification of new customer needs, typically through intuition, market surveys, focus groups, and the like. I think everybody is familiar with the saying that Henry Ford is famous for, that if you asked what his customers were looking for, they would probably say faster horses. And the ensuing stages for this kind of customer need-based approach are not surprisingly the planning and production of new products to satisfy the identified needs. Now, while this approach can and does lead to innovation, it has a number of marked drawbacks when the anticipated outcome is innovation and competitive advantage. First, most consumers find it difficult to imagine a product that does not exist, like in Henry Ford's example. Frequently, they find difficulty even in expressing a need, particularly when dealing with consumer goods and products that do not satisfy a fundamental need. Think, for example, how many consumers, before the invention of the Walkman, felt the need to stroll around with a small tape player attached to their belts. Second, in order to reach the select consumers that do imagine a particular unsatisfied need, it would be necessary to collect data from an extraordinarily large example. And even if we reach those people, there is no guarantee that they would volunteer to share their novel ideas with us. The goal of the innovative manufacturer or marketeer is not simply to satisfy existing needs, but to create and supply solutions to latent consumer needs. Now, how many people years ago thought they would need a chewing gum that would solve their oral acidity problems? So, when a need is clear and prevalent for you to locate it and identify it, odds are that your competitors will also detect it at the same time. The challenge then is to identify and satisfy a non-existent or latent need. So because of these drawbacks, it's obvious that we need something else. And you can see in this quote from an article called The Voice of the Product that was published in the Innovation and Creativity Management magazine, that there is a clear need to an approach that can lead to an exclusive discovery that will take the marketplace by surprise. This is the key. Such innovative ideas must be captured before the market submits strong signals to its needs, rendering market research methods for eliciting ideas less effective. By utilizing product-based approach, on the other hand, SIT tools manipulate existing products and processes in odd and unusual ways, based on patterns that we mentioned before, thus creating mistakes or manipulations on purpose. These mistakes are starting points for ideation. They are triggers for a new outlook on your products and processes. It doesn't mean that every and such mistake will turn out into a real idea and a gold mine, but it does give a systematic way to manipulate all the products around us and expand the potential of uncovering those latent needs that our customers are incapable of vocalizing on their own, leading to great new breakthroughs that may not have been discovered otherwise. In the pictures that you see in front of you, you can take a look at various examples of working with SIT tools and templates, and the kind of products that can come out of them. As we mentioned in the previous lesson, SIT is not the only method that uses creative templates to generate innovation. We belong to a family of methods that rely on this concept, most notably TRIZ, which is used in various organizations around the world. All of these methods derived from the original ARIZ, originally developed to solve technical and engineering problems by a Russian naval engineer, Genrikh Altshuler, whom you can see here in this picture. Altshuler compiled common principles for hundreds of thousands of patents and inventions and created them into a method of approaching problems in technology and engineering. This method was originally called ARIZ and then developed further into TRIZ. Later on in the 70s, one of his students, Gennady Filkovsky, taught TRIZ in Israel universities, and this is where the two founders of the SIT method, Dr. Ronnie Horowitz and Professor Jacob Goldenberg, were first exposed to the TRIZ method. They are the founders of SIT's method, and the co-founders of SIT the company. They created SIT to simplify TRIZ. Why did TRIZ need to be developed into SIT? There are too many principles in TRIZ. TRIZ actually has 40 principles, and they can be difficult for the problem solver to follow. The principles do not operate on a uniform abstract level. Some principles are very general and others are very problem-specific. The frequency of use is not uniform. Some of the principles are used very often, whilst others are rarely used. Therefore, TRIZ's 40 principles were reduced to SIT's 5 idea-provoking tools, by eliminating principles that were too problem-solving specific, eliminating principles that are not used very often, and grouping similar principles together. SIT is now used in multiple fields. Since SIT is more generic, it is transparent to the field in which it is applied, and can be used for a variety of objectives. It is not simply a technical or engineering approach. While TRIZ is very powerful for these applications, SIT can be more widely used to gain competitive advantage, understand the market landscape, getting consumer insights, come up with new offerings, overcome challenges, make work or production more efficient, leverage professional relationships, create the foundations for innovation, sharpen messages, utilize contact points with target audience, and of course, implement, make it happen. It is also critical to clarify another important point, that while the research for the SIT method is product-based, innovation is not only products. Innovative thinking can and must be applied to anything that requires change in our existing thinking, be it processes, services, strategies, business models, communications, sales, or anything else we find ourselves in a rut about. In addition to providing triggers that do not depend on customers' ability to imagine and verbalize future needs, SIT combines using patterns with working under constraints. We will discuss this in much greater detail in future modules, but for now, it's only important for you to know that this approach does not encourage blue sky thinking. Brainstorming and similar methods for encouraging creativity invest greatly in deferring judgment and accepting all ideas. You may have been exposed to this as part of your professional training. However, there are various advantages to constraining the thinking process. While unpredictability is considered to be the essence of creativity, constraints are needed because the origins of creative thinking combine familiarity and surprise. We actually don't want ideas that are completely out there. Those are not going to be accepted by the market and very difficult for us to implement. We believe that thought consciously guided by a wide set of restricted options yields more targeted and effective results. While the group interactions are considered to generate more and better ideas, more is not better. It was shown that the fewer ideas suggested by individuals are evaluated as more superior than more ideas suggested in brainstorming sessions. Companies sometimes refer to this as garbage in, garbage out. A lot of times, when you see hundreds of ideas you are presented as a result of brainstorming sessions, a lot of them are silly, and actually this diminishes from the value of the ideas that are actually valuable. So constraints help you sift between the useful and the useless ideas. The New York Times said about this approach that while brainstorming is right in terms of the group process, it's wrong in terms of the method. It actually said that brainstorming is the most overused and underperforming tool in business today, and that the premise that a group must generate a large list is false. Instead of identifying a problem and then seeking solutions, turn the process around. So to sum up, SIT represents a complete overhaul of traditional brainstorming, replacing the creative free-for-all with a highly disciplined, inside-the-box approach to idea generation. And, unlike most inventive methods, it starts with what we have rather than what we need. To make it work, the method can be seen as consisting of a few layers. At the core, there are the thinking tools, the 5 unique tools based on the patterns that we discussed before. These are structured thinking procedures. This innovation toolbox enables you to follow successful thinking patterns, the ones that have created successful products and processes in the past, that when applied proactively will lead you to inventive ideas. Secondly, there are the principles. The SIT principles were formulated to help overcome some of the assumptions that can obstruct the proper use of the tools. Simply put, they help us use the tools effectively. We will study the tools and principles in greater detail in future modules. Then, there are the facilitation skills. We have devised, borrowed, and owned a range of facilitation skills that assist you in dealing with various situations and resistances that you may encounter while working in a team. These techniques help facilitators make the process truly interactive and ensure the groups manage to work together in a focused and therefore more effective manner. The project management layer consists of all the guidelines and techniques that help us ensure that the ideas are not only generated, but actually implemented. Lastly, on the outside layer, we have the organizational innovation techniques that help organizations achieve a culture of sustainable innovation. For achieving sustainable innovation, 3 integrated processes must coexist. People must acquire the ability and inclination to think differently when needed. Specific innovative outcomes must be generated and executed. Structures must be put in place to support and sustain the new innovation culture and practice. We will talk about this in greater detail in the next lesson in our module. This layer, organizational innovation, includes the activities and processes that ensure the full integration of these 3 necessary elements. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in our future classes and modules, where you will learn how to do this on your own. Thank you.